In 2004, a man cleaning out his dead uncle's garage almost threw a rusty metal block into the trash. 3 weeks later, that same block sold for $1,800. It wasn't a gun. It wasn't gold. It was a tool the size of your palm, and it had been sitting in a coffee can full of screws for 30 years. Here's the part that should worry you a little. That coffee can is probably not unique. There are millions of them sitting in garages exactly like yours right now tonight. Today, we're breaking down 15 ordinary-looking tools that are quietly selling for hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars in 2026. Why serious collectors are hunting them down, and exactly how to tell if the rusty thing on your shelf is trash or treasure. Let's rewind for a second because you need to understand why this is happening at all. For most of the last century, tools were built to survive their owner. Forged steel, solid wood handles, companies stamped their name on every piece because they were proud enough to put it there. Then starting in the 1960s and 70s, most of the great tool makers got bought out, merged, or quietly shut down. The steel got thinner, the wood became plastic. And an entire generation of genuinely well-made tools simply stopped being made. But they didn't disappear. They went into basements, into toolboxes, into the hands of men who used them daily and then passed them down without a second thought. Which means somewhere in your house right now there might be something the modern factory literally cannot reproduce. Most people look at these tools and see junk, rust, chipped paint, a 50-cent price tag at a yard sale. Collectors look at the exact same object and see something else entirely. The difference between the two comes down to a name, a number, and one small detail almost nobody thinks to check. Let's start small. Point 1. If you've got an old hand drill in a drawer, the kind with the crank and the little spinning wheel, a worn one is only worth $30 or $40. Not exciting, but check the gear wheel. If it's still painted, especially in red, and both handles are original wood, that same drill jumps to over $200. One paint color, that's the entire difference. And that's just the warm-up. Point 2 takes us to old handsaws. Most brands nobody cares, but one name changes everything. A saw with a carved wooden handle and the right maker's stamp on the blade can sell for well over $100 cleaned up and sharpened, and the earliest examples go even higher. A tool that looks like scrap metal to you looks like a paycheck to the right buyer. But here's where it actually gets serious. Because everything so far has been the appetizer, the real money, the kind that can genuinely surprise you, is hiding in a category most people wouldn't even glance at twice: hand planes. To you, it's a boring block of iron with a blade in it. To a collector, it's potentially the most valuable object in your entire garage. A common one is worth maybe $15 to $50. Don't get excited yet. The value lives entirely in the specific size, the specific line, and one tiny mark most people walk right past. Here's your insider tip. Flip it over and look at the blade for a small heart-shaped symbol. That mark signals a specific golden era of manufacturing, and its presence alone can meaningfully raise the price. Now the numbers start climbing fast. A top-tier line from the right maker, the kind collectors call the Cadillac of the workshop, routinely sells for 2 to 3 times a standard plane, with verified sales pushing toward $500 for a pristine one. And then there's the one that should genuinely make you go check your shelf tonight. The smallest bench plane a major American maker ever produced, barely 5.5 inches long. When it was new, it was the cheapest plane in the entire catalog, under $3. Almost nobody bought one because it was too small to actually be useful. And that's exactly why so few survived. That scarcity turned it into the holy grail of the entire category. Documented sales sit between $800 and $1,800. Exceptional early examples have gone for several thousand. A $3 tool, now worth more than most people's monthly rent. Step into the rare specialty category and the numbers stop sounding real. At major tool auctions, single hand planes, objects that fit in a shoebox, have sold for over $3,000, more than once, more than one maker. That's a hand tool worth more than a used car. So if a palm-sized plane can sell for $3,000 or $4,000, you're probably wondering what the actual ceiling is. What's the most anyone has ever paid for one single old tool? The answer sounds fake, but it isn't. At a respected specialty auction house, a single plane hand-carved from ebony, fitted with gleaming ivory, built as a showpiece rather than a working tool, crossed the block and sold for $114,400. One tool, 6 figures. And it still stands as one of the highest prices ever paid for a single hand tool. You're never going to find an ivory and ebony showpiece in your garage. Realistically, almost nobody will. But here's the part that actually matters to you. The same collectors chasing that six-figure showpiece are the exact same people quietly paying real money for the ordinary-looking drills, saws, and planes we just walked through. It's one connected market. The showpiece just proves how far it can go. So here's exactly what to do tonight. Go pull every old tool you own into good light. First, read the name stamped or cast into the metal. That's step one always. Second, find the model number. On planes especially, the small numbers are often the valuable ones. Third, check condition but do not clean it. This is the single most common mistake people make. Collectors want original finish and original wear. A wire wheel and some enthusiasm can erase hundreds of dollars in about 90 seconds. Fourth, before you accept anyone's first offer, look up actual completed sales, not asking prices. The gap between what people list something for and what it truly sells for is enormous. And here's the last detail that quietly explains almost everything in this list. The single biggest factor in value usually isn't gold or ivory or age. It's simply that nobody ever used it. The tool that was too fancy, too small, or too impractical to actually work with is the one that survived. Untouched is exactly what turns $3 into a fortune. The era of tools built to outlive their owner is over, and it's not coming back, which is exactly why the tools from that era keep climbing in value while everything on today's shelf is built to be replaced. Somewhere in your house, in a drawer you haven't opened in years, there might be a small piece of that craftsmanship, just waiting to be noticed. So before that toolbox ends up priced at $1 in someone's driveway, take one more look. If this saved you from a $5 mistake, subscribe, because we dig up hidden value like this in every single video.